Greetings, mood killers. I'm Balonius Francine Marconi along with Eddie Barella, two white guys doing a podcast. It's nobody's doing that. There aren't any. We're the only ones.
I do struggle with the whether or not I'm white thing. Because
I see, yeah.
I mean, like culturally probably white, but when you tease out what I actually am, no one would ever say I'm white. So
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You know
Yeah.
what? It's crazy because, you know, they see our last names and like, oh, yeah. Balonius Francine Marconi, Eddie Barella. But
Right.
I think of myself as crispy white. And, you know, but you're right, though.
By all, we are socially white. Sure.
That's right. Socially white. Yeah, that's right. But I think I guess I was just making fun of the fact that like every other podcast is just two white guys talking to each other.
Oh, right.
You know,
but even then, I don't even know if I would consider myself socially white because when I was a kid, my skin was very, very dark. So I had I experienced what it was like to be dark skinned in an all white school.
You know, I will say this.
Yeah.
Because I went to a different school every single year. And for a while I was in Iowa, right? And that's like, you know, milky white cornflake state. You know, there's no diversity there. I will say this, though. When I went to second grade, I lived in Des Moines. And I had diversity in my class. And it was the first time. And it was the greatest thing ever. My best friend was Francisco. And I had a bunch of different friends in my class that were of all diverse backgrounds and stuff like that. And I loved it. And then I moved back to another place in Iowa that was very white. But then I moved to Tucson, and I made some of my best friends in my life that were, you know, black friends, brown friends, you know, all assortment of different diversities and backgrounds. And I will say this. My black and brown friends accepted me quicker and faster than any white person ever did.
I mean, that's universal if you just look at the state of the world. So interested in general, right?
And you know, I still talk to some of them from high school to this day. And one of them, Quincy, who served our country and in the military and several different tours of duty. I talked to him. He was living in Germany for a long time, and we spoke. And I love that guy, you know. And I was so fortunate to be able to be friends with some of these people, and they accepted me as one of them. Like I was invited to the cookout, man. You know what I mean? Like it was, it was real. So they treated me.
I found people who are of diverse backgrounds tend to be very accepting in general.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that's not typically the case with white people, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? Like, and it makes me mad. I'm not.
And it's not like all white people are bad. We're not saying that either, but you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I feel love from because in I live in Chicago, and my building is very diverse here. And I feel love from the people in my elevator, like for 5 seconds. If I've never seen them in my building, we'll talk for like 2 seconds, and I feel closer to them than some white people I've known my whole life sometimes.
Oh, I know, and you know this from living in Denver. Denver is an extremely white city, and being out here in LA, I'm realizing how much I needed the diversity because everywhere you look, there are people from all over the world.
Yeah,
and every you barely see just a white person at all. Really.
I know, it's great. I think that's the way the world should be.
Food.
Yeah, culture, food, different backgrounds, different thoughts, different ideals. I think that
and people are nice.
The whole idea,
people are nice here in LA. I don't care what they say; they're nice.
Well, the thing is, I don't think people say they're not nice. I think they think they're phony because a lot of people in LA are real nice. But they give you that
Beverly Hills or something, sure.
Yeah, because that's what people forget is there are different parts of LA where people are, real or not, have nothing to do with Hollywood or anything like that. It's just
there's going to be a rich, phony neighborhood in every city. There's one in Chicago too.
There are plenty of them.
There's a few.
And Chicago is one of the largest segregated cities in the United States. But the places where I've been able to live, very diverse, and I love it. And that's why I stay in Chicago, because of the transit and the ability, the food, and the people are just the
culture.
best.
You need it.
I love it.
It really enhances your life in so many ways every day.
Yeah, and so like that's when you said exactly why I couldn't stay in certain places. Too white.
Exact. Well, yeah. That's my. I would love Denver if it weren't for that fact. I would say it was the perfect place for me to live if it weren't so white.
Yeah, too white. Same with Portland. I love Portland.
Oh, and Portland has that problem too.
Yeah, it's a real like whitey, and like a lot of great people. I'm not saying there aren't great people, but I just prefer. I feel more at home in a diverse community. So,
yeah, you really don't know what you're missing until you live in a diverse community, and you're like, oh wow, I've been doing this wrong the whole time.
I mean, do you have neighbors who will bring you over food in a Tupperware? Because that's how my neighborhood works. It's so nice, and the people are so
that's
sweet.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
you get that Midwestern, those Midwestern sensibilities in Chicago, in a big city. It's a great place to be. So.
Yeah, it is, because Chicago is like this little town that's like, it just happens to be the third largest city in the country. It's crazy, but
and everybody there is nice, and
But either way, it's just it's two guys talking to each other on a podcast. I hope that's really that came through.
We'll be talking about the weather next.
Yeah. Eddie, it's time to scroll.
Hey, you've been scrolling for a while now. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling.
Selena Gomez, I'm kind of obsessed with her. I guess not in a creepy way, but I think she's great on that show, and I like her music, and I just like her.
Who?
And she's beautiful, all that stuff, but she's very likable. And then she gets engaged to this Benny Blanco, who for a long time I thought was a douchebag. He's a big-time producer. I mean, do you know like all the songs he's co-written and produced and stuff like that? He's written and co-produced so many huge songs.
Right.
I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, Hot and Cold. He did the TikTok song from Kesha.
He's done a lot, right?
303, Don't Trust Me.
That's funny. Those guys were literally in this building like an hour ago.
The Adobe studio for Warped Radio, right?
Right. Yeah. They were literally just here. They say hello.
And, like that Moves Like Jagger, Maroon 5, he co-produced. I mean, and then he'll do these interviews. I don't know why he's on so many interviews now, but he's on a lot. And he'll tell you, he'll bring out a laptop, and he has all the origins and the stems of each song, like just recordings of him going, ba 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 ba, and like, oh, that turned into I'm at a payphone.
He has 29 number one hits.
And one of my favorites he did with Justin Bieber was Lonely.
Love Yourself.
I think
he did Love Yourself also.
But my favorite song of Justin Bieber's is Lonely, because I feel like it's such a perfect song. It really tells his story. And Benny really got his voice out there, I think. And when he did that performance on SNL, I think that's one of the best performances I've ever seen. It was so heartwarming, breaking too, just thinking about it. But anyway, so Benny Blanco's this great guy, and then he'll go on and he'll do like, here's last night my girl, he's talking about Selena, wakes up at 3 a.m. and she's like, baby, can you make, I feel like I want some spaghetti. And he'll go down and make her spaghetti. Because, I mean, he loves her. And then...
But does she love him if she's asking for spaghetti that hour? And it's kind of like she's testing him.
No, here's him talking about it. Because he's all over TikTok on different shows talking about his love and his music and all this kind of stuff.
When I wake up, I think to myself, I'm like, how can I make Selena's day better? Like what can I do in my day to make her day better? Because then that makes my day better. And I wanted to find a person like that. And I know when Selena wakes up, like the first thing she's thinking is like, how can I make his day better? And we have such a give and take. Like I could never even see a world where I would ever yell at her. She would ever yell at me. Like we don't argue like that. Like I feel like we just have conversations. Like there's never an argument. Sometimes she'll say, this is so funny.
Oh boy.
She'll go, I'm feeling a little irritated and I think I need like 25 minutes. And I'll say, okay. And then I give her space. And then after like 5 minutes, she texts me. She's like, hey, will you come back? I miss you. Yeah, but it's knowing that, and we have the proper boundaries set with each other. Like, I don't have to be on top of her every second. She doesn't have to be on top of me every second we're together. I just want to know she's in the house so I can say like, hey, I love you. And then go back to what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because look, we're both highly independent people. Okay. But we're both little mushes who just need to be attached at the hip.
We are so cheesy. It's so fun.
I hope that stays that way, you know, as they grow. But it's weird because he'll say, when he did that thing where she woke up at 3 a.m. and wanted spaghetti, he preps food just for those times. Like, he made these deep fried shrimp and coconut batter just for snacking.
Yes.
And he's like, he's got them prepped.
Wow.
And they're ready to go. And all he has to do is throw them in the little fryer or whatever. And he makes one of her favorite snacks. And I'm like, that is love, man. You know, when you love somebody that much, you're thinking about, you're anticipating their needs like an assistant would to some boss. You know, he's treating her like a high-paid assistant would treat her, but in a loving way, like in a romantic way. I just think it's so cool because that's what everyone wants.
Right.
Somebody to
it
love
seems
them
like
that.
It seems like a very healthy relationship. I wonder if they if their parents are divorced. Or
I think,
where do they learn this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that situation. I think Selena has, I don't know if her parents are together or not, but I know she's had bad relationships for sure. But okay, here's another clip, Eddie. Lil Nas X seems to always have great advice for some reason. I mean, he must have gone through a lot.
He's been through hell and back.
Yeah, he really has.
Your life gets so much better when you let go of what it's supposed to look like and you let it be what it is. I know what you think it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to be as an experience, but you don't know. Don't miss out on this chapter of your life trying to force it to be something that it's not. Live in the moment, because you will, I promise you, you will miss parts of this part of your journey.
It's so smart to say, because it's right. Because, you know, like in my radio career, I always thought, I'm going to be this host that's syndicated on radio across the country. And then we both kind of did that. And then we also had our stint with Mood Killers being on the radio in different places.
Sure.
But at the same time, our thought was like, well, we want to be like, you know, living in mansions and, you know, talking to a microphone, and that's it. And then we realized everything was right here in front of us at Adobe. Why don't we
why are we not just enjoying what's in front of us?
Yeah, just invest in this Adobe thing and make it the best it can possibly be. And that's so much more rewarding than giving, you know, another corporation our effort.
That's right. I agree.
And Eddie, I know you're very upset about this.
Yes.
Joann Fabrics is closing its doors. I think they're going to leave a couple of them open, but most of them are shutting down, right?
I locked myself in the bathroom for hours when I heard this news.
Well, that's where you used to settle all your differences with people on the street. You'd say, meet me in the parking lot of Joann Fabrics, and we're going to throw down at 7.
Yeah, the police are slow to respond to any disturbance at Joann because they don't believe it at first.
Right.
A quick reminder as we say goodbye to Joann Fabrics in their final days that during the pandemic, Joann Fabrics, the secular corporately owned company, decided to keep their employees on and had them cut out fabric to make mask kits that they would literally give away. And Hobby Lobby, the good Christian privately owned family company, sent their employees home without any warning and didn't give them any severance money. Good Christians, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like Hobby Lobby. Remember there was a whole thing there where they wouldn't cover birth control for their employees or something. Kind of reminds me of that.
Yes,
You go into these stores and they're like these innocent craft stores. Then they have these nefarious evil people behind him. It's very weird to me.
And then, like, Joanne Fabrics, I guess, was purchased by venture capitalists. And it's not that Joanne Fabrics wasn't making money, because it's making tons of money. It's just they decided they would like to cash out. And it's such a, like, if somebody was smart, they would go, well, let's scoop that brand up and keep it going. Because it's very popular. Don't let Hobby Lobby take your stake, or, Michael's is good, but, need some competition.
Those venture capitalist firms are just such a plague on society. They go into these companies and they gut them, and they just try to squeeze out a profit on their investment, and they don't care what happens after that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, Eddie, I have more audio. I could save it for another time, or I could do it now. Which do you prefer? Do you want to wait?
Is it good?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Oh, if you think it's great, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Now it's going to be, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, we could have waited on this. Okay. So I just stumbled upon this woman who gives her mom food to test and try, but she tells her the wrong name of it. She makes up like some kind of name that's supposed to make you laugh and get her mom to say it without knowing. And her mom has no clue what she's doing as far as like the naming. And she just says it. So here she is trying the Taco Bell Fupa Chalupa.
Another Taco Bell. Okay, today I'm trying at the recommendation of somebody. It's called a Fupa Chalupa. I'm putting it in there, lopping it all over. Thanks, Taco Bell, for the Fupa Chalupa.
And then she's trying Martin Dew hard. Martin Dew.
Hey guys, it took me a while, but I finally got Martin Dew hard. Let's try it. That is hard. I like it. And it comes in many flavors. My favorite so far, Baja Ha Ha Blast. I'll definitely be getting hard at my next party. Thanks, Martin Dew.
By the way, somebody should tell her that they turn off the TV in the background when they're recording these videos.
That's funny.
But, okay, and then there's an Arby's roast beef with a different name.
Today I'm trying an Arby's sandwich. It's the roast beef cheese queef sandwich.
What?
I've never had Arby's before, and here goes.
So it was delicious. She loved it. No.
Wow.
And okay, so there's a ton of these, so I just made a montage of the rest of them. So it's like a minute long, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Those are great, though.
Hi, guys. Today, I'm trying the new McDonald's Gangbanger sandwich. Today, she brought me the new Dairy Queen. It's chocolate, dipped in chocolate, and it's named after the Cleveland Steamers team. I love my Cleveland teams. The Steamers, I think they're hockey, so I don't really know them. But today, I'm gonna try a Slim Jimothy. Slim Jimothy? It's kind of good. I don't know why I thought these were gross. Thanks, Slim Jimothy. It would probably go good with that Baja Ha stuff you got in there. Today, she's making me try Dairy Queen's new Glory Hole onion rings. It's very tasty. I can see why they call them glory holes. They're glorious. Good job, Dairy Queen.
There you go. That's. I really want to try the Slim Jimothy.
Yeah, Slim Jimothy.
That's beautiful.
Are you scrolling instead of sleeping again?
I have insomnia.
It's okay. Keep scrolling.
You ain't did nothing on your to-do list because of that phone. You keep procrastinating because of that phone.
Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU.
What's MCU again? It's the Marvel centered
Cinematic Universe.
Okay, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, and
does that mean he's going to be Iron Man?
Well, he's going to be someone else in the Iron Man universe. So they're bringing him in. He's going to play Doctor Doom, a bad guy. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's,
it's
a new Avengers movie.
So the MCU is basically like a movie team it's like the WWE, but it's for movies, right?
Yeah, it's like this glorified soap opera.
And now he's switching from being a good guy to a bad guy, like they do in wrestling.
Yeah, it's because people are getting tired of Marvel movies, and they should have been tired of them a long time ago, but I can't believe it's just now, catching up.
I don't think I might have seen like a handful of them, and they're just, they're fine. But just what it is there's so much non-scripted parts, and it's just sound and sound effects and visual effects. It's just too overwhelming for me. So I start scrolling, and I'm bored with it before you know.
That is they are boring, and they all follow the exact same formula. Every single movie, it's the hero, he gets into some kind of trouble, you think he's about to die, then at the last second he doesn't. And it's like the same thing for every
and then
movie.
One
doesn't matter
evil
what
person doesn't die. It's like always one that like that Loki guy.
You think that this person's dead, and then it turns out their pinky's twitching, and then they're in the next movie completely fine.
Right.
It's annoying. It's the same old crap over and over again. And
I will say, I like me too. I like. Eddie always says
I
it.
say no thanks.
No, thank you.
I like like the first Iron Man, but I didn't really watch any of the other ones. I don't think, and they're so forgettable. I don't remember.
Worse and worse. Yeah, the first one was good though because. It was written for Robert Downey Jr. and it was a big redemption. And then he came in and he actually improvised most of his lines, and you could tell that he loved what he was doing, and it just had a cool air to it. But then they tried to replicate that success over and over and over and over again. Like, okay, Iron Man worked, so now let's start doing all these other movies like Ant-Man. Who cares a crap about Ant-Man?
Or we can't go wrong putting Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, and then suddenly Paul Rudd, like people would get excited, like, oh, it's a big deal when you get in the MCU. I'm like, what?
And the only reason why it's a big deal is because it's the only movies that actually bring people to the theater, Because you go to the movie theater these days, there's hardly anybody in any of these movies unless it's a Marvel movie. And then you go to a Marvel movie and it's packed.
You know what I hate?
It's crazy.
Is if you try to go to actually a good movie in these theaters, what you hear is rumbling from the next movie theater over, and it's always a Marvel movie.
That's right. The Marvel movies are ruining every other movie with their sound effects being too loud. I've had it with that too. Nobody's talking about this. This is what they don't want.
But
you to know.
What because like you'll be into a really good movie, and you'll hear like through the wall of the theater, like some weird rumbling, and you're like, shouldn't this be fixed? Like, shouldn't they have the soundproof, like where I can't hear that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm spending this much money.
You'd think that they would.
Is any of the. And then you'll see these TikToks where these theaters just gave up and left everything there after after COVID.
Yeah.
And just shut everything down. I'm like,
right.
We are so quick to like, we need to rebuild this whole thing or whatever. And then they'll just leave it. And it's just like urban decay everywhere.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. So I say, no more building theaters. Just fix the ones that they abandon if you want, and make some better movies. Is there any? If you're gonna, try to keep the movie theater thing going. I mean, Eddie, I know you support it because you've got that pass where you spend $20 a month and you get like free new movie every week.
Movies. I like movies, but I'll tell you, there are more bad ones than there are good ones, just because all the budget and marketing is going into the Marvel movies. So when you watch a movie that's not a Marvel movie that ends up being a good one, you actually feel like you found a little diamond in the rough.
Yeah, because like Netflix, I'm still trying to figure out like when did they stop making movies? Because the ones that I see are like, okay, once every blue moon, and then they'll have one imported from from like England or whatever, like this.
I think
Adolescence. The series?
The aftermath of all the strikes we're still feeling because production was stopped for so long. So that's why it feels like.
And maybe like they're reluctant to do it because like now people are actually going to get paid. They're like, well, we don't want to do that. But I watched that Adolescence that is supposed to be this great thing, and oh wow, everybody's talking about it. It's so boring. It's hard for me to like stay focused on it because nothing happens for episodes. And like the whole first episode is them arresting someone and then the whole process of taking him, this kid, to be arraigned at the courthouse or whatever.
Right.
That's
what the whole thing was, and it was cool that it was one shot. But then after a while, there's only so much you can do with that before it gets tedious.
Like that could have been 2 edits and like less than 10 minutes, and then
but
you
they
could have made.
Insisted on one shot. They just had to do it to bore the crap out of all of us.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm sure I'm supposed to like it, and I'm sure there's a nugget in there of goodness because everybody's saying it's so great, but I haven't found it yet. Enough.
It's tedious. I've had it with just everybody delete Netflix now.
Thank you.
And never go to the theaters again. Tom Cruise. How old is this guy now? You know how old Tom Cruise is?
I don't know why that made me laugh like that. You know, suddenly you just mentioned
Cruise.
You mentioned Tom Cruise, and I'm like,
Tommy. I know.
Oh.
The guy's become kind of a little bit of a joke, and he's been given a bigger pass. Then I don't really understand how this guy's been given such a pass, being heavily involved with Scientology all the years, and
I gave
everyone
up
knows
on
the
him.
allegations behind Scientology with the way that they intimidate and stalk and abuse people, and then this guy is their biggest donor, and for some reason he gets a pass on that.
And his creepy way of like his wife had to like, you know, go off the radar and get out of that Scientology and to separate with him, and his daughter wants nothing to do with him. If your kid wants nothing to do with you, you're probably not a good person.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag, don't you think?
Yeah.
When a kid, it was that Katie Holmes that when they got divorced, she had to get away from him, and he's 62 years old now. They're about to release another one of these Mission Impossible movies.
Oh God!
And of course, he has to do all of his own stunts. So I turned on the TV this morning, or I didn't turn it on. It was on in the gym, and it was the Today Show, and they were talking about how he's still doing his stunts at 62 years old, and they showed him jumping off of a building and then grabbing onto a helicopter. And I'm just like thinking, is that necessary? At this point, I sort of feel like it's just an ego stroke for this guy.
Because the last time I watched one of his stunts was when he jumped on that couch on Oprah, and that was it. And then the next day, I think he was on the Today Show talking about medication and how people shouldn't be on this and that, and like people on meds, it's lunacy. And
somebody got a hold of him and told him to shut up.
Yeah,
and it's ruining his career anytime he talks.
And then I'm like, I don't need to hear from this guy ever again. So I've never really watched any of his movies since. None of the Mission Impossible. So I'm not definitely not going to see this one.
No,
I think I saw the first one. That was enough. I'm like, okay, are all of them him getting strung down from the top of a building, and he like goes in with ropes?
Sure. And every damn time the mission's possible in the end. So
it turns out it's possible. Right? Yeah.
I'm gonna sue him. That's what I'm gonna do.
You go into one of those movies and you're like, I paid for this.
This was a huge mistake.
I really don't think it's necessary for Tom Cruise really to be jumping off of buildings and flying helicopters. To me, it seems like he seems like a maniac because he hires all these camera people and he puts together these elaborate stunts and then he performs them. And then by the time, these stunts actually make it to the big screen, there's so much CGI around them because they're CGIing out wires and then they're changing backgrounds and stuff. It's like, you didn't even need to do this in the first place. The technology exists. We have AI now. We have, of course, other stuntmen could be doing this for you. You kind of are looking like a dick.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, not only like if you're 62, like what do you got to prove? You've done all this your whole life. Sure, I mean, keep making movies. I don't mind.
Sure.
I'm not going to watch them. But there's an audience for it, obviously. So keep going. And then, but like, what do you got to prove? Like, and do a different movie. Do something that, you can take a ton of risk. The guy takes zero risk as far as like doing a script that might be challenging.
He's like Top Gun 2, Mission Impossible 10.
You know, like, how about a Rain Man 2? Can we get that?
That'd be do that today.
I mean, I'm not looking for a sequel, but I think it would be funny if they tried to do Rain Man 2.
It would be funny.
I might actually watch if they got Rain Man 2 together.
How are they going to dance around that topic and the fact that it was Tom Cruise and Dennis Hoffman, right? Then Dennis Hoffman was the special needs guy.
Was he autistic? I can't remember what his
whatever
thing
he was is inappropriate for him to be playing that role. So
I remember that.
Let's do it again.
I remember they threw a bunch of toothpicks down, if I'm remembering the show right, and then he counted all of them. Like, there's definitely 1,755 right there, and then they looked at the box and it said 1,755, whatever he said, and it was. Yeah, I remember, and you're right. It probably was. The thing that I think is weird about my mind is because when somebody is offended by something now, it bums me out in a way because it's acting, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be reality. So if somebody's acting like something, as long as it's respectful, it's not like making fun of it. I don't care. But and I don't know. The times have changed and stuff, and that movie was made like the early 90s. I just remember them going into a casino, right? And that was the whole thing, is they were Rain Man could count cards and make money, and they got in trouble.
Yeah, there was something weird about the early 90s where actors could play special needs people and be acclaimed for it. Like, remember there's Billy Bob Thornton and Sling Blade also around that time. People really had this weird fascination with that. And then you have, of course, Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump.
And then Rosie O'Donnell on that one. She was riding the bus everywhere.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it.
What is that? Like,
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Yeah.
I'm glad that Hollywood got away from that trend, because that if you look at it now, it's not a good look for anybody.
Yeah, and I am guilty of liking most of those movies. You know,
I mean, Forrest Gump is a classic.
Forrest Gump. I liked Sling Blade a lot too.
Right.
But it's nothing like and I don't really personally like Billy Bob Thornton, but I like most of his movies.
I like him as an actor, but he seems like kind of a weirdo in real life.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys that also has a band, and when the band is going on, he gets really weird with interviewers who aren't famous, asking him questions about his movies. Now, if you're famous, you can do whatever you want. But if you're just like a radio person, or someone that's on a regional TV network, he's real weird about it, and he'll walk out, and he's a big diva. I don't like that kind of attitude, but I like I think he's really good, like in Fargo, the series. Like, he's really good in that, and he's got a bunch of other stuff that he does that I like, but I don't necessarily like him.
Right.
I will say I respect he's always wearing a wig in most of his things that he does.
From this is F Tom Cruise, and only half the time F you Billy Bob Thornton.
That's right. That's right. Eddie, we haven't done this in a while. I loved when we would do Ask Mood Killers and get questions from our listener. And it's always fun. So I have a few here. I'm sure you'll want to be part of this because they ask specific things about you.
Okay.
Let's see. What's the best way to end a conversation without sounding rude? My response to ending a conversation usually is
this was a huge mistake.
Right.
Correct?
And is it an in-person conversation or is it telephone? I guess that to me kind of changes. But if it's in person, you can say, "Where's the restroom?"
Yes. Hey, where's the I really have to take this call. I'll be right back. And then never come back.
Yes.
It is weird because what you do, I have to take this call. You go out of the room, and then you come back and say, "I'm really sorry, I have to go. There's kind of emergency. It was great meeting you." And then
I always love that people have emergencies at social events, but never any other times.
Right. Yeah. Do you ever have an emergency during an emergency? No. No. How about how do I deal with a coworker who constantly overshares? I'll ask Eddie because I'm the oversharer.
Well, I think you just start taking notes, and you use those notes for later when you need to blackmail this person. That's what you do.
Like when Eddie said,
take off your pants.
I said,
I say no thanks.
No.
Take
off your pants. Now,
That's right.
please.
Okay, let's see. Let me skip through these. There's so many. We can do these anytime, but here's one specifically for Eddie. I think. Okay.
For me, huh?
Well, no, about you. I think. Okay.
About me.
Who is Eddie really that chill, or is it just an on-air persona? Well, obviously, it's an on-air persona. No, I'm just kidding.
It's an on-air persona, for sure.
I don't think Eddie has ever... I mean, he's never gotten directly mad to me or at me. Like, I've never... Like, we may have a disagreement or something, but it's never like... It's always chill. Like, it's not like... what Eddie does is he says... I'm very irritated with you. I'm going to need like 25 minutes. And then
right. And then I text you at 5 and say, come back.
Yeah, that's right. We're mushy like that. But no,
That's right.
I don't think, I think you're a genuinely nice person. And maybe you internalize, and maybe that's part of
yeah, I mean, I things, a lot of things don't really, I don't know. I have a
You just let
hierarchy
things
of,
roll.
There's
You
only
don't-
so many things that can bother me in the world. And I try to focus on the more important things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I sort of feel like I'm living in an existential crisis in the country in general, so it's hard for
We're
anything
in
to
a
bother me.
hostile government takeover. Yeah.
So when that's looming over my head, the minor annoyances in the day just really aren't as important to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's a question about recording our podcast. Who takes longer to get ready for a recording? I would say me, because I like to chit chat with you to warm up. Like I'm doing my vocal warm up, telling you a story or something. And Eddie's like, and Eddie's just like politely going, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You like to ramp it up. I'm the type of person that could just press record right away and be good
Eddie
to go.
doesn't
But
like
I understand,
foreplay.
I understand the right. Yeah.
He
I
doesn't. He
understand
wants
the
to get
ramp up.
right into it. And
That's right.
But
Absolutely.
the thing is he respects my way, and he doesn't. He's not mad at me about it. He's just very, very chill, very easygoing guy.
No, I mean we have an allotment of time that we have here, and whatever gets done, gets done. You know.
That's right. It's if you hear the podcast suddenly end, it might be
that's
Eddie.
What happens.
You'll hear a noise, and it'll be like, that's it.
Yep.
Mood killers. You know, it's because Eddie had to go. He had a hard out.
Yes.
Well, we'll do more of these. We'll do if you have questions, queries, whatever. Our social media link is moodkillers.co. I think all of our stuff is there. You can DM. You can comment on our latest post on Instagram, wherever you feel comfortable. Or Eddie loves to peruse through the email, moodkillers@aol.com.
Right.
So it's there.
Absolutely.
Ask Mood Killers. Eddie, thank you, everyone. If you made it this far on our show, on our podcast, we really do appreciate it. Make sure and tell somebody about Mood Killers. We're on all the platforms where you get your podcast. If you're listening on Adobe or on demand, usually Mondays is when we release our podcast episodes. And Eddie gets really excited that day. That's your favorite day. Because Eddie's podcast, It's News to Us, is also released on that day. His other show. Right? And
yeah.
So if you can't get enough, you want more.
Yeah.
Eddie Barella, if you can't get enough Barella, well, I'll tell you where to get it. It's News to Us and Mood Killers.
Right.
But Eddie, we always like to leave with a beautiful dollop of joy.
Thank you. That's right.
I found this artist, and maybe you, because you deal more with the music on Adobe, maybe you've heard of Corook. Corook?
No.
Okay. I just stumbled across on TikTok, and I'm a big fan already. To me, this is a dollop of joy. Just a little clip. Never felt this good.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. Seriously. Don't make me do it. I've never really liked the taste of weed. I've never run a marathon or even down the street. I've never bought a pack of cigarettes, but I always seem to find them when I'm feeling mad depressed. I've never bought a ticket for the lottery. I've never said Worcestershire properly. I've never even had a summer fling. Oh, and one more thing. I've never felt this good. Ooh, I've never felt this good. Ooh, I can't even tell you why, but I've never felt this good. I've never done,
I just like the funkiness of it.
I like it.
I've never effing felt this good. And I wanted to put it on, but I didn't want to bleep it out. So I had to go to one of those. This is a little behind the scenes of what goes in. I had to go to one of those audio separating websites and put it through a process so I could sanction it, and then I could just mute saying the F word. Because, you know, we're trying to protect your little ears from the F word. What the hell? What are we doing? But that's your dollop of joy, Eddie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Too bougie.
Yeah, too bougie. Thank you both for listening. We'll be back next time.
This was a huge mistake, correct?
No.